Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Answering the Bell with Stormybman, our Sunday morning call-in for this Sunday, January 28th, 2024. This is number 105 in the series of call-ins. We happen to be coming out of another evening of boxing where we had a chance to see Jaime Munguia return to the ring against John Ryder, the Gorilla. Well, the Gorilla got caged last night, and we're going to talk about that and maybe a little more. We got fights on the horizon. There's some big fights that are due coming up in February. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit as well. But basically, it's what's on your mind, Yeah, when it comes to the sport of boxing. Because I ain't got no money to lend you, So don't even try to breach that subject. Hey, Stormy, can you let me hold something? No! You can hold that L, Yeah! What's good? Happy Sunday morning to you out there. If you ain't got up and took care of the necessities, you're already behind the 8 ball this morning, And I'm talking about brushing the teeth, I'm talking about letting that soap and water hit the body, Yeah. Combing those naps, yeah, And thanking the Creator for giving you another chance, Because Stormy might not be giving you one. Yeah! That's what's up. What's happening? One of the things that can be really applauded by family is unity. The stick-to-itiveness nature of understanding what it requires to proceed ahead. Know that. Be that. Show that. Yeah! Let's see who we got in the building this morning. Let's see who we got. Jimmy Bernard is out there this morning, once again saying, "What's good, Sensei?" and salute to the chat. 7 times 100, yes sir. My brother Drew Titan LLC is in the building saying, "Yo!" Flawless Mentality and Black Excellence, hosted by Dr. Mark, is in the building saying, "Blessings to the God, Sensei Stormybman, my brother of elevation, fam, and the gods and beautiful goddesses of the mighty LDBC Answering the Bell call-in family." Man, Dr. Mark, that's a lot. Thank you. Jay Gibson is back saying, "Salute to Stormy B-Man and the fam. Morning to the fam." Let's see who else we got out here. The rest of you all are greeting each other as so it should be. Yeah. See, some get up with BS on their minds. But what do you expect? When you live below in the sewer, you're bound to track that wherever you go. The stench, the mess. But I believe in custodial responsibilities, huh? Now you can't keep things clean, but you could strive to be clean, to be absolved of filth. Yeah. It's painstaking sometimes. Meticulous. Jimmy Bernard. Jimmy Bernard. Jimmy Bernard. You were out there bright, early, and first. So if you understand what that means coming around here, allow me to remind you personally one last time. And this message is specifically for Jimmy Bernard, who has a wrench here. Stormybman does not do timeouts. Jimmy Bernard, is that clear to you? Is that clear to you? Could someone else who's in my chat explain to Jimmy Bernard the difference between removal, extraction, and timeouts? Because I grew up in an era where we didn't do timeouts. You get your ass whooped, and then everything was good. Because understanding came from that. Timeout came at a much later generation. See, what timeouts means a break, huh? In the action. But a ass whooping ceased those unacceptable actions. Am I clear to you? See, other channels run their show the way they run their show. But I've kept it simple here. And if people who get wrenched up on this channel can't get with how things are conducted here, because you're all inclusive here, you got to go too. Because you leave the avenue for certain things to happen. And that can't be trusted. I speak frankly. I speak succinctly. And I speak directly. For an example, do you understand that message right there? If you ever saw Dirty Harry, the first Clint Eastwood detective crime thriller, he tried to tell his captain, his chief, the mayor, anyone, the DA, anyone who would listen, that this Zodiac killer needed to be dealt with a certain kind of way due to his experience in the field. That whole thing about negotiating with terrorists at that time was under consideration. But Dirty Harry had a different message. And by the time the film ended, his message had been tried to be true. Yeah. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah. This is the flavor that we savor around here, neighbor. Yeah. Wasn't even in to my show 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes. But be ye prepared, huh? Because I've been up early this day, thanks to my creator. He touched me with my right frame of mind this morning. That's why you're hearing me this morning. See, that's what that's about. Some people can't be brought up in their right frame of mind because in order to do so, you have to have a mind to begin with. That's not deep or even profound. It's a fact. Yeah. You know the lengths that I go through to prepare shows, to prepare videos, to try to be creative throughout this process and to have the disrespect come through. That's not celebrated. By no means is it celebrated. Going back to the chat. Going back. Leave no brother or sister behind. Learn is in the building. What's happening? Silvestriel is out there. Champion Heart, my brother, is out there. See, I spoke to my family a couple of weeks ago on how to handle the distribution of information. My live streams are not the place for that. So if you're family, you've gotten the message, and you should understand that. If you are family and missed the message, there are others that are a part of the family that you can consult. But please understand that a live stream means that the information and subject matter and content is being created spontaneously, live. So, in order for there to be no disruption to your message that you're getting live, you don't come in interrupting. You don't. It's disrespectful. And when you do it anyway, that means you have no respect. And since you have no respect, you should be dealt with accordingly. You see? There is something called decorum. Decorum. One of the problems as a community of people in our society that we get not the consideration and provisions that are due is because it's very difficult to get others on board with what the objective truly is. And the objective is supposed to be all-inclusive for each one. But individuals, sellouts, turncoats, backstabbers, cheaters, deceivers, set forth their own goals, and they cause disruption, interference. distractions. You see? Is that not what happens in the world? And is that not what's happening online? There's a choice. You could be part of resolution and solution, or you can maintain to be the problem. Yeah. I've been very clear. Very clear. This message is unwavering, unchanging, consistently flowing like the water behind me in my backdrop. The usefulness of a cup is in its emptiness, right? You take it out of the cupboard, you want to pour something in it. The one that's sitting in the sink, that's soiled, that someone had used for something else, is not useful, right? The one that's in the fridge, that's got someone's drink from yesterday left over, that's not useful. But the one that you took out of the cupboard is ready for what you're ready to put in, huh? So how about that fresh drink? That's what Stormy is here to deliver to you today. A fresh drink. Bottoms up. Yeah. Fred Mirror, what's happening? What's happening? So let's open it up. Let's have a conversation. We could talk about Mungia versus Ryder. We could talk about Fandora versus Cruz. We could talk about Fulgham versus Fox. How about Collazo versus Gutierrez? Huh? A night of boxing. Broadcast, promoted by Golden Boy on the Zone. Yeah. Post-fight show last night. Almost 600 people tuned in for the post-fight show last night. So Stormybman must be doing something right. Must be doing something right. So that line is open, y'all. Talk about it. But let me say this about John Ryder, though. Do not be fooled, dismayed by his performance. That man came off of a severe beatdown that he suffered from Canelo Alvarez. And if he were coming back to the ring, he should have come back to a soft touch. That's the sign of a fighter being moved properly, especially if he wants to remain in contention, because it gets tough at the top of the sport. And to suffer the type of beating that he took against Canelo, he didn't need to come back and face a younger, bigger version of an offensive fighter like he did last night in facing Munguia. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm placing Munguia in the class of Canelo. But Ryder had taken enough punishment to give the impression to a fighter like Munguia, he would give the idea that Munguia might be a little better than advertised. That doesn't fly with me. Munguia was able to do, Ryder was able to do enough to show me that Munguia has a lot to learn still. Okay, we got 929 in the building. Who's calling? What's on your mind?
Hey, good afternoon, Stormy. This is Peach.
What's going on, Learn?
Everything. I'm good. Yeah, this is Learned. Yeah, I should get used to that, man.
You know I have to give you Stormy's twist on everything. You know, no disrespect, but it's for more humorous sake than anything.
Yep, got it. And I'm still learning, so I don't mind the name at all.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Fine Sunday morning. Making breakfast right now. Just decided to give you a call to talk about the Munguia fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much going into this fight, I mean, the reason why I had Munguia by stoppage is because Ryder's 35. He fought a lot of tough guys. Lost 6 times. And at this point in his career, I think I already considered him as a journeyman. And with the style Munguia brought, I knew it was going to be a stoppage because, for one, Munguia is like more, he is more, how do I say, his offense is more like overwhelming than Canelo is at this point. And so I knew that it would be a stoppage. But man, Munguia is giving me a heart attack with his defensive style. It's like, I know one day when the time comes, he's just going to get knocked out like very badly. But for now, I mean, he's just doing the job, so hey, kudos to Munguia.
Well, see, as of what I suggested a moment ago, just before you called in, I think that we need to really look and assess at what Ryder went through in his last fight. It can't be overlooked that Mr. Alvarez took a lot out of him. And it was really an unnecessary beatdown because there was no way he was going to win that fight against Canelo. They were fighting in a ring the size of my shoe box. Now I wear size 13, so it's like that's a small box to put two men in to fight. And he couldn't get away from Canelo in that particular match. Now, if you notice, he was able to get away from Munguia at moments by turning him and keeping the fight pretty much in the center of the ring. There were moments when he got caught near the triangle or the ropes, and that's where he had the difficulties, and that's where he was dropped and knocked down. However, that being said, I spoke last night that if he had not had the Canelo fight, there was a good chance he could have very well won that fight against Munguia, because the damage wasn't there. But man, when you take a beating like he took against Canelo, and what I'm talking about, he was busted up. His nose was broken. His body was battered. They fought nip and tuck, and he showed a lot of bravado. But see, those are the instances when your corner has to be smart and say, you know what? Our guy is hanging in there. He's shown his fortitude. We're going to stop at this next round. We could just tell the public that he threw his shoulder out, or he might have broke his wrist or something like that. Okay, yeah, it looks bad in the instance that it happened, but you saved your fighter from an unnecessary round after round after round of beating and being battered. And we're talking about this should have been a foregone conclusion by rounds 8 or 9. He didn't need to take the punishment that came with the rest of the way. You see, I likened it to the fight where Anthony Yard was challenging Artur Beterbiev. And he was hanging in there tough early on. Strong, good combinations. He had good movement. But then Artur began to find his range and start to land on Yard, and it was starting to look shaky for Yard. And just before Artur could get ready to really turn it up that next notch, they stopped the fight, Yard's corner. They saved him. And what was interesting, and I just had John Scully on my Tuesday Tussle this past week, was that Artur has said at the moment that they stopped the fight, when he went back to his corner, he was happy the fight is over and everything, but he said, damn, I was just getting warmed up. So he was just getting warmed up. And Yard had been fighting life and death for 7 rounds. You know what I'm saying? So what does that say about the guy who is beating on him? It's like, this is fun. I'm just getting warmed up. This is why you need to know what you're looking at when you see these fighters, because everybody doesn't have that warrior-like spirit. And when a fighter is able to show that, that's a great thing. But if it's detrimental to the fighter, it's not a good thing. And I'm going to tell you something else. I mentioned it last night on the show. I called Jaime Munguia the human bobblehead, because fighters are hitting him and landing solid punches, snapping his head back, bobbling his head around and everything. And that's not good either. Yes, he has received decisions over a couple of fighters that probably should have gone the other way. But these opponents that he's fought have landed on him. And landing on him, doing damage. You don't see the damage right now because he hasn't been scarred up. He hasn't been battered and bruised. But his brain is bashing around in his skull. Every time somebody rocks his head to the left or rocks his head back and forth, because he doesn't keep his chin tucked. You see? That is concussion syndrome type stuff that will show up 5 years from now. And he's 27 with 44 fights now after last night. So these things that I'm saying, they make a lot of sense if you understand boxing the way you need to understand boxing to be able to truly enjoy the sport of boxing. And it's a shame for a guy like Ryder that at this late juncture, he's 32, 33, I think. He at this late juncture, he was getting these chances, but he took some real damage. And don't forget, guys are getting hit like that in sparring too. You think on only on fight night is when they're taking blows? No, they're taking blows throughout 12-week training camps, 8-week training camps, 6-week training camps. They're getting hit, bro. And in the training camps, you're sparring like every day. So somebody might get the best of you on Monday and you come back on Wednesday, and somebody, you get the best of them on Thursday, and then they getting you again on Friday. And if you're the top guy, like a world champion, they're bringing multiple sparring partners in to work with you. So when those guys get rest, you're still in the damn ring waiting for the fresh guy to come in against you. See, you really don't think about these things, do you? You just sit down and grab your beverage and your popcorn and say, "Oh man, this fight is bullshit." No. What did they go through to be able to come to you to perform this bullshit in front of you? Think about it. Which is one of the reasons why I talk about the gym is where you're supposed to learn. I'd rather be in that gym learning how not to get hit, how to deflect the punches, how to let the punches glance off my shoulder and my glove and everything and not catch me solidly on the chin. Just because I got a big punch, I'm trying to knock out all my sparring partners. No, I'm supposed to be in there learning and honing my skills and craft in there with my sparring partners. My coach and trainer is supposed to be directing my sparring partners as to what he needs them to do to me to get me to my peak. Not just guys in there and somebody in the gym filming it and they going toe to toe, blow for blow. That's dumb. And how many times have you heard me talk about the poor trainers out here? You see?
And to your point, in Mungia's case, I mean, I get why people feel like his record is padded. 43 wins, no losses. He hasn't fought anybody. I mean, I could see why people would say that. But in his case, I think he needs those 43 padded wins only because of his style. And I don't know why in the hell you have 43 fights and haven't learned any type of defense. So
it's because of who's working with him, bro.
But he needed that just because, yeah. He got damaged in all those 43 fights.
But no, listen, it's according to who's working with him in the gym. Think about it like this. There are trainers who can teach you both sides, okay? And then there are trainers like Freddie Roach who can train you how to be offensive, but you need to also know how to take care of yourself in there. And taking care of yourself is more than just putting a high guard up to block punches from your head.
My issue is Oscar sees the flaws. I'm pretty sure Mungia's team sees the flaws, but they're not doing anything to change it.
I won't all the time agree with that. I'm going to tell you why. Oscar changed trainers multiple times in his career. His original amateur trainer, Robert Alcazar, when he got to a certain place in his professional career, Alcazar didn't know what to do in certain circumstances. And if you ever saw the De La Hoya documentary on HBO, or it's now on Max, I think, when De La Hoya talked about You know, there were moments in a certain fight where Robert didn't have answers for him. He needed some instructions, technical wise. This happens all the freaking time, by the way, by these fighters. Oscar brought in a veteran Wiley coach in Jesus Rivera, an old sage who was thought to be a little loony and cuckoo and all of that, but he knew boxing. You could call him like the Mexican Customato. When he started working with Oscar, Oscar got better defensively. His offense was always there, because once you can hit people and get them up out of there and things of that nature, it's time to build on that. And Jesus Rivera gave him something. By the time Oscar got in there with Julio Cesar Chavez, Chavez couldn't do anything with him. He never landed anything on Oscar, never put Oscar at any jeopardy. But had Oscar not had that experience with Rivera, it may have been different. Now, there were people close to Oscar. They didn't like Rivera. They didn't want him around. And they coerced Oscar to get rid of the guy. And then Oscar went on to other trainers, including Floyd Mayweather Sr. and a couple others. But I'm going to tell you, he had admitted himself that Jesus Rivera was the one that was the best trainer that he had, because he gave him things mentally and he gave him things defensively, tactically, and had him in a place of confidence, meaning that he was assured of what he could deal with in that ring. Plus, he was introducing them to other things, music, arts, stuff like that. Because a fighter needs letdown. He needs like someplace, because you're building your body, you're building your mind, you're building your spirit, but you need an outlet. You need outlets. Take up some arts, do some other things with yourself, your time and everything, so that you have balance. You can't be just a warrior 100% all the time, every day of your life. That's what you do for a living, but it should not be your life. So when you have balance, it will give you some type of serenity where you can have a place of retreat, and you don't have to go to substances or materials or women or things of that nature that can trickle into your life and cause chaos. Does this make sense to you, Learn?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So when you say that Munguia, you don't know why they're not teaching, it's because the people that Munguia may be happy with who's working with him. He may be like, I like my trainer. You know, he just recently got with Freddie, so he might be liking on Freddie. Oscar may have made a suggestion to him. Hey, why don't you give Jesus a call? We don't want that guy. You see what I'm saying? We don't know the end of that. The only way you would know is if someone who interviews him ask him the pertinent questions. And that's what Stormybman does when I talk to veteran fighters and trainers and everything. I ask them pertinent questions such as, but you got these guys out here today thinking that they doing journalism and everything, and they blowing smoke up people's behind, and they always stroking somebody off and everything, but you ain't coming away richer for the experience because you don't have any experience on how to become richer. Yeah. But then they can come here to my chat being a disruptive element, trying to let people know that somebody talking about me. Well, what is Stormy talking about? Stormy is talking about levels and how to gain and get to them. Huh? You don't hear me talking about the depths of below. Because everybody starts at ground zero. Some ascend above and others sink below. And guess which ones Stormy don't give a damn about? You there, bro?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to add was during that fight, I mean, Ryder had a lot of success, and I think I mentioned it in the chat after the performance last night.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of success in the mid-range, and especially when it came to like countering.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I don't know why. I could understand a little, but a lot of the times he would just go in and clinch and try for the uppercut like he did in the Canelo fight. And clearly in this fight, it just wasn't working. So I don't know why he kept opting to do that.
You talking about Ryder?
Damaged. Ryder, yeah. Because you notice in the Canelo fight, he did throw a lot of good, clean uppercuts to Canelo, which he tried to do in this fight, but it wasn't working as much. Well, I don't know why he kept opting to do that.
Well, that is a telltale sign of a fighter that's been damaged. See, he's thinking that he's comfortable mid-range because he could probably see things better or get very close. But that's not to his advantage when you're talking about a bigger, younger guy. Not necessarily stronger, because if you ask me, Munguia found out that he wasn't as strong or stronger than Ryder. But if you notice, there were moments when Ryder was on the outside and Munguia was doing certain things, and Ryder in his southpaw position was trying to put his hands up and block punches, and the punches were still landing. That's a sign of a guy that he's off. He's been hurt. And when I say he's been hurt, I'm not talking about in this fight. I'm talking about that last fight he had. His timing wasn't there. He's catching punches clean that should miss or should get blocked. But if his trainers can't acknowledge that in training, and they keep putting him in tough in this is how guys get damaged for real. I can see it. But when I say these things, some people might feel like, well, Stormy's just being a little overly critical. No, you should be able to see that in the gym, because if Jaime Munguia was hitting him like that, his sparring partners was hitting him too.
Yep.
Unless his sparring partners were not, as good as him. And that's another bad thing. You have to have quality sparring partners. You don't want guys coming in there to beat you up and bang you out of there. But if they are on par with you, or are young fighters who are on the come up but they just don't have enough experience yet or whatever, then your coach and trainer is supposed to instruct and direct them. I need you to do this to John. I need you to attack him like this, because we're working on some specific things. And we're going to pay you for this. Not just get in there and go to work and, he got the best of me today, I got the best of him tomorrow. That. No. Remember, why do NBA, NFL players, why do they have practice? They go over their plays. They go over what works in their offense and things like that. They go over what works on their defensive schemes. That all happens to come together because on game day, they have a call to action. It's supposed to be the same in boxing, but it doesn't always equate to that because we don't have the quality teachers out there. Look at Mike Tyson in his last 5 professional fights that he fought. And look at Mike Tyson in his first 5 professional fights when he fought. You know what the difference is outside of the age? The young Mike Tyson did not get hit. He was elusive. He used certain postures to make fighters throw shots at him and could move elusively and get under shots and everything and counter with specific shots in combination that will always put guys in trouble, because most people recall him hitting guys with a big punch and the guy going down, or the last punch off of his combinations and the guy go down. Because had him so equipped to use his footwork and to use his upper body movement and head movement to make, if a guy throws a jab, you want to either slip the jab to the left or the right, and sometimes get under the jab and spring out of that, because before the guy can get his arm back, you're already hitting him, and he don't see which angle the punch is coming from. But when you watch the old Mike Tyson, he's just standing up there with his gloves up to his face, and he's kind of rocking left and right, and guys can time that. Pop, 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 hit him. You understand? Because that elusiveness and everything that he had, that took a lot of energy and vigor and vitality. The old guy who had done drugs and alcohol and the women and abusing his body and all of that foolishness, not training properly, not in shape. He can't do those things like he did when he was young. And that specific style, because of his height, reach, and size, that when you fight like that, there's like only a 5-year window, as long as you haven't taken punishment. And then naturally the body begins to change and you can't do those things like you used to. That's why David Tua, early in his years, could spring out there on guys and knock them out real quick with that big left hook he had and everything, similar to Tyson, but not like Tyson. Similar. But as he got older, he put on more weight, which meant what? The quickness wasn't there anymore. That spry spring that he had where he could spring into people, that wasn't there anymore. He was more lumbering and everything. That's why Lennox was able to keep him on the outside, pop, 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 and he couldn't do nothing with Lennox. But that younger version of David Tua was dangerous as hell. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So these things that I'm saying, I'm giving you a technical insight to the psychological aspect of what makes these guys really good or really bad.
Yeah. So the WBC rankings, we touched on it a little bit last night. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like the person that I have high hopes for in there is Pacheco. So I really don't care what Benavidez, Canelo, those guys have going on. But when I think about the future of that weight class, I'm just thinking of Pacheco right now.
Pacheco is a good fighter, man. He's one of the best young fighters out there. I know he recently fought, or is he getting ready to fight? I think he's getting ready to fight. But his last fight was a good test for him, and he came through with flying colors. What I like about him is he still gives me the impression that he's learning, and he's bringing new wrinkles each outing. I love that when I see that from fighters. My problem with him, and it's not a problem, but my concern for him is he's going to get to a certain stage and then they're going to stunt his growth or his progress because he's good. See, there are other fighters who have names right now that are ahead of him. Guys like Berlanga and those kind of guys. Those guys that really shouldn't be getting that, notoriety and things like that. But fighters like Pacheco, man, He's a good fighter. I will not. I told you I did a video on him already.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk about these fighters, I talk about them straight up. And typically when I do it, it's before they catch on with everybody else. When I talked about Carlos Gongora and Christian Mbili well over a year ago, you know, people didn't even know who those guys were. And I was like, you know, I'm watching this fight and I'm like, these two men are amazing. And everybody talks about Mbili now. But you hear me still mention Carlos Gongora's name because he's a damn good fighter too. He nearly won that fight from Mbili.
Yeah, that was a tough fight.
It was
exciting
tough.
Too.
It was tough. And the thing about it is, guess what? The rest of the contenders know he's good too. So that's why you don't hear his name, because those promoters, they're like, if we put our guy in there, he might beat him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not what they want to do. And so therefore, that's when I complain that the contenders are not fighting each other. Because if they were fighting each other, guess what? There'd be a whole lot more names coming out of your mouth than just Mbili or Benavidez or what's the other kid's name? Morrell. You know? There are other fighters out here. This kid Fulgham that fought last night, I loved the fact that Fox came out in such an ugly way and made a dog fight out of it, and is just like mauling and all of that, because Fulgham, who had been knocking people out 2-3 rounds, he needed to go rounds. He needed to know what it feels like when you're in the 8th and 9th rounds. You know what I'm saying? Plus, hard fought with you psychologically. You got to stay sharp. And you got to be, you know, ready. And this guy is doing all kinds of stuff, elbowing you and hitting you behind the head and stuff like that, hitting you low. It's like you need that type of experience because that shit happens. And I said he learned more in that 10-round fight last night than he probably learned in his first 7 fights.
Was that a split decision?
Yeah, but it was not, you know, it wasn't a split decision fight, but somebody gave Fox a draw or something. I don't know, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, draw, yeah. It was something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a 95 or something.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like, come on, man, please. That's ridiculous. But I like that. You know, when you see the young, when Shakur, before he won that first world title, what was he at? Super featherweight then, I think. Before he won his first world title, I was talking about that about him. I need to see him in fights where people are going to offer up some resistance and give him rounds and hit him back and stuff like that. And that would make him a better fighter. But they still have guided him a certain kind of way. Now, that De Los Santos fight, yeah, he didn't come up with his excuses for it. But I'm going to tell you something. One more fight performance like that, and he's definitely going to be labeled what they're talking about him now, because I saw that when he fought, what was his name, Nakatila and De Los Santos. Yeah. He performed the same way against both men. And Andre Ward and Tim Bradley were highly critical of him when he fought Nakatila, to the degree that I disagreed with them, because even though he did fight cautiously against Nakatila, he still dropped the guy twice. And in order to drop the guy, you got to be in a position to punch and hit him back. Against De Los Santos, he didn't commit at all. So that criticism really should go toward the De Los Santos fight more so than the Nakatila fight. And that's why I disagreed with those guys with the Nakatila fight. It's on video. I did a post-fight talking about it and everything where I disagreed with them. But his De Los Santos performance, no, man, Shakur, I'm not going to give you.
Yeah, that was.
He fought like crap, bro. You remember the old NCAA games where guys used to stall the clock out because they weren't good really offensively. So if the score was tight or if they were up by a few points, then they bring the ball up the court and just be passing it back and forth, trying to kill the time on the clock. And the other team got to amp up their defense and try to steal the ball and stuff. And you know, it's like those are the worst kind of games to watch, because it's like, man, come on, that's Shakur trying to kill the clock, going around the ring, that stupid little jab, and then he running around the ring. Go sit your ass down somewhere.
Yeah, he definitely has to come better in the next one. Definitely.
Especially for somebody who talks so much crap, right? It's like, come on, man. You can't be doing all of that, man. That's too much.
Yeah, he needs to stay off Twitter, so I agree when everyone says that. But it doesn't look like that's going to change, because he's still doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. So what else you got for me?
But let's talk about your favorite girl, Kundura.
Man,
she was pretty nice last night.
Listen, I like that girl, man. I like her. You know what? She reminds me, like every fighter that I've seen that turned out to be a pretty darn good fighter, not necessarily a great Hall of Famer, but just a pretty darn good fighter. She reminds me of that because she has the qualities. She's in there. She's not afraid. Mm-hmm. She'll take risks. And you know what? If she throws punches and misses, it's not like she packs it in and afraid to let her hands go. She'll keep going until she lands something. That is the sign of someone who wants to be better than where they are. And that's a hard characteristic to bring out of a fighter. It really is. And I talked about this last night. When she throws her punches, particularly her left hand as a power punch, she turns it over where the thumb points down toward the canvas. She punches with power and snap. That's why when she finally started landing on Christina Cruz last night, Christina Cruz, who has a damn good poker face, by the way, she gave the impression she was good. But boy, I could tell. I could tell from her body language, and I could tell from how early in the fight she was giving good lateral movement, moving left, moving right, in and out. Then later in the fight, that lateral movement was almost like running, and then she would look to get close to Gabriella to tie her up, which is exactly what Natasha Jonas was doing against Michaela Mayer. See, this is the thing that lets you know when someone has hit that wall or something during a fight, where they kind of run out of options of what they think they can do, and they start grabbing. See, Gabriella wasn't clinching. Gabriella was punching, just like Michaela was punching Jonas. Jonas fought good in spells, and she really set down on her punches at times, but she didn't win that fight. And she didn't win the fight because she never solved Michaela. She never solved that issue. Gabriella solved Christina last night when she kept coming and kept coming. And the only thing Christina could do was bend over and cover up to the point that she cowered, like she turned her back. And that gave all of the keys to the victory to the referee to step in and stop it. Because you hit that wall, you didn't know what to do. When I watched Jonas and Mayer,
like I was listening
in that 12th round, Jonas held so much in the 12th while Michaela was trying to go upside her head. It's like, okay, now you can see why she shouldn't have got the decision. It's not about, the hometown girl or whatever. It's about the champion didn't have the answers.
So one thing that I liked what Gabrielle was doing was cutting off the ring. So she did that well. But I wanted to ask you a question because I was listening to the commentator pretty much during that fight. So after she had gotten punched and she turned around, they felt like the ref should have given her a warning instead of ending the fight. Like, do you agree with that?
Not necessarily. And I'll tell you why. Because it was in the heat of battle that Cruz did what she did. Now, she's supposed to be experienced enough, old enough, because I think she's like 40 years old or something. But she's supposed to be experienced and old enough to know what the rules are. If you turn your back on somebody and kind of step away from them, that's a sign of resignation. You're supposed to protect yourself at all times. She was covered up, but the referee stepped in to save her from Gabriella doing more damage to her. Now, one thing that the ref could have done, but it's not necessarily mandatory on the books, he could have stopped that action and given her a standing 8 count. And if he gives her a standing 8 count, that gives him a chance to look in her eyes and see whatever's up or whatever. But it's still considered like a knockdown. But see, I'm going to tell you, this is what's up with the inconsistency in the sport of boxing. There are times when refs should give 8 counts and they don't. And then there are times when the ref waves a fight off and they could have given an 8 count. And it happens too much that it looks like the sport is all over the place. We saw Collazo last night bang Gutierrez into the ropes, and the ref could have jumped in and called that a standing 8, but he didn't. And Gutierrez continued to wobble around until Collazo hit him with that one good shot, and he went face down. Remember? It's like that ref could have saved him from that, but he didn't. And then that was the end result. But seeing these kind of things, it's like, okay, it makes you recognize, that, okay, the everybody can't think under pressure, bro. Everybody can't think under pressure. And that's one of those instances, including referees. I've seen referees kind of lose it and let fighters get battered too much, and then they jump in too early. And it could be the same ref. In one fight he jumped in too early, in another fight he stopped it too quick. This is why I talk about the accountability in the sport so much, because if you're able to get in there and be consistent with what you do, the outcomes of the fight will typically be decided according to how you let the action play out.
Well, that's all I had for you, Stormy. Did you want to mention anything else to me?
Yeah, one more thing about the watching the action and learning how to, properly assess what you're witnessing. I like to use, and going forward, I will be using this particular fight, Natasha Jonas and Michaela Mayer, and something similar in Christina Cruz and Gabriela Fondora last night. When a fighter is moving, having ring generalship, moving laterally and all of that, that's good. Footwork. Having quality defense is good. Effective aggression. Last night, Cruz's effective aggression was covered over the first 4 or 5 rounds. But in the second half of the fight, as Gabriella came on and Cruz got more fatigued, Cruz didn't have answers to do things to be more efficient and effective to finish the fight strong. And she ended up getting stopped. by making a very bad, unprofessional mistake. And that was bending over, turning her back, and moving away. In the Jonas and Mayer fight, it was quite similar, where Jonas jumped out early, good lead, and I think it was round 5 or 6 where they both began to sit down and start trading punches. But what Mayer was starting to do was pick it up with her pressure and attacking. And Jonas went from setting down on her punches to moving around the ring more and throwing shots occasionally, while Mayer was pushing her back with jabs and pushing her back with right hand leads and putting her in a defensive posture. When she didn't have an excuse or have an answer for that type of activity from Mayer, she started clinching and holding. Where did we see this before? We saw it when Caleb Plant fought David Benavidez. He jumped out to an early lead against Benavidez. He was boxing him well, sticking, stepping around him and everything. Then when he began to get fatigued, he started dipping over and reaching out to hold David and holding and clinching, and the ref was letting it happen. But what was great about David was he didn't get frustrated. He waited for the breaks in the action and the clinches and then went right back to doing what he was doing. He didn't get wild. He didn't punch behind the head. He just stayed on top, applying that pressure, letting his hands go where he could. Sometimes I thought he got too close to Caleb and smothered his shots, but he still persevered by staying on top of him and creating. Whereas Plant might have wanted a place of rest and retreat, he gave him none. Well, I felt Michaela did the same thing against Natasha Jonas. And that's why I said the inconsistency in boxing. When I say the things that I say, I can give you 2, 3, 4 examples of why I say what I say. You know what I mean? It's not just Stormy giving his stupid opinion again. No, I'm observation of the action, because there is a limit to what can happen inside that squared arena. You know, it's not like something new can happen all of a sudden. No, if you've watched enough boxing, you can see these things. And if you've taken in what you learn from what you're viewing, then you can fortify everything you're saying by giving examples. And did I not just clearly tie 3 or 4 fights together with similar circumstances? Did I just do that? Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean when I say what I say. So it's not like, oh, I think I'm better than somebody or this. I'm like, you could do the same thing if you go out and you watch the fights and you pay attention to these things, technically wise, that I talk about it all the time, and then people can't pull the wool over your eyes. And the best part of what I say is I don't have a dog in the race. My favorite fighter has been long retired. And these guys out here, nobody could be my favorite fighter. There'll be fighters that I love to tune in and watch. But my favorite fighter is my favorite fighter. And he's been long retired. I can watch this now with an unbiased eye and tell you my assessment and what I think. You got guys like Tim Bradley that'll sit on the air and they know and have been professionals getting hit upside the head themselves, and they say foolish stuff in there. And I'm like, really, bro? You would really do that?
So, wait, so to your point, right, how do you suggest them fixing that? Is it, do they have to do it in training, or during the fight, do they just have to hold off and wait until the right moment to go off?
Who are you talking about?
When you talk those 3 fights that you mentioned, right? Pretty much, yeah, the 3 fights that you mentioned, it seems to me like it's a stamina issue between the 3, right?
No, listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. And I'm glad you asked that question, because it gives me a chance to give some more knowledge here. Thank you for asking me that question. Those similar situations had nothing to do with stamina, bro. Nothing. These fighters made weight. They tipped the scales, made the weight for the bouts accordingly. These fighters fight a certain type of style. And then what happens is if someone adjusts to what they're doing, they are not a complete enough fighter to make a second adjustment to what the adjuster did. So what happens is psychologically they shut down. And the only thing that they know is to stop you by holding you or clinching or whatever. They don't have the answers because they've never worked those issues out in the gym. Do you know, to use Sugar Ray Leonard as an example, just 2 weeks ago, I did the answering the turning the page in boxing with Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran's first fight, 1980, June 1980 in Montreal. Duran came into that fight with a record of 61 and he's like 69-1, something like that. He had like almost 70 fights, bro. And Sugar Ray Leonard had like 20 fights plus. Duran was 29 years old. Sugar Ray Leonard was 24 years old. However, those fights were 15 rounds. Sugar Ray had a number of knockouts. One of his tremendous knockouts was a brutal knockout of Davey Boy Green, who was a welterweight, and Ray Leonard knocked him out with a furious left hook. Duran was one of the best defensive fighters of his generation. His previous loss was to Esteban de Jesus, which came 8 years before his fight with Leonard. When they fought, Duran jumped out early, took an early lead against Leonard, who came on about round 5 or 6 and started winning some rounds. And Duran, by like rounds 8 and 9, he fought and maybe took a round here or there, but it looked like Leonard had the momentum going forward. Then when we got to like rounds 13 through 15, Duran had picked it up again. And as I was calling that fight on that show to the viewers, I realized what Duran had done. It's a 15-round fight. You can't fight on 100 for 15 rounds. Some rounds you might have to fight at 45. Some rounds you might have to fight at 25. Some rounds you might have to fight at 65. But it's enough of a change and adjustment that will allow you to remain in the thick of things to get the consideration in the end. In other words, against Leonard, the younger, more spry Leonard, Duran used guile and experience, and he got that decision. Well, Caleb Plant, Natasha Jonas, and even Christina Cruz, in these fights that we just talked about, they didn't, when they started to get a little tired or whatever, they didn't go to the most basic of things that you can utilize. The jab. The jab. That's an adjustment within itself. That would allow you to rest. That will allow you to put something up in defense against the pursuer.
Right.
It will allow you to disrupt what the opponent is trying to do. And it will allow you to remain in the fight with point consideration because you're doing something effective.
Right.
That's just a simple thing. There are more. But I'm giving the example because if you look at these fights that we talked about in question, some of these fighters, they didn't even resort to that. Holding, running around, clinching, running around. And that's That's the extent of their answers. When I talked with Kurt Sugar, R.I.P. to my brother Kurt, one of the things that he said about Sugar Ray Leonard, which I recognize him, he was right on with it. He said that Sugar Ray had a knack for adjusting to other guys. So in order to beat him, you have to be able to adjust to his adjustment. Meaning that Sugar Ray can fight you at least two ways, but he's going to come out one way, and as you're competing or whatever, if it requires, he's going to switch at some point to you. And you have to be ready for that switch.
Sure.
And when he adjusts that way, then you have to be able to adjust to that. And then when you adjust to that, that puts him in a point of he could either stay with what he's doing or go back to what he originally tried, right? But you've given him over to showing what his game is. You see? So being able to adjust to the adjustments, that is key. And that is why I say it's not the fighter with the biggest punch or the guy that's the toughest or whatever. It's the guy that's the smartest who typically wins at the end of the day. The smartest fighter wins.
Everything you said just made sense very clearly.
Yeah. And I thank you for asking me that question because, again, like I said, that's what, when I work with guys in the gym, these are the kind of concepts. We come up with this stuff. We talk about these things. And it's like, just like this backdrop I got, this flowing water behind me. Truth flows just like that, like a river. It's like you can't hold it. You can't bottle it up. You can't stop it. It's going to flow through because that's what it is. It's a natural thing. It can't be denied. It can be embraced. You can bathe in it. Huh? Nothing wrong with that.
All right, Stormy. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.
You dropped a lot of knowledge today. I appreciate it. So thank you for that again.
Thank you for calling, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your questions and your talking points that you brought to the show this morning. Thank you so much. Don't be a stranger.
All right. Take care.
All right. Peace to you. All right. Yeah. That's the brother Teach, a.k.a. Learn, coming in here with some great talking points this morning. Appreciate that 1,000%. Salute to, we got out there, we got TD Sports Talk came into the building while I was cooking. What's good with you? Champion Heart is out there. 704 Joe in the building. Dodge J, B Mac, Dritch Richardson, the Jab Jamboree, what's happening with you? And Isaiah GQ, Universal Truth. Yeah. I saw you guys. I just was cooking with Learn there. But I appreciate everybody that's coming to the building, man. Yeah, buddy. See, we talk about these things, man. I keep telling you guys, whenever somebody can come in and ask me questions and things like that, that's when I can kick into the mode of being at my best. So just know that that's how I do it. That's how I do it. So, Champion Heart, you had mentioned that you might want to call in. If you want to call in, please do so. Or one of you other brothers out there. Jab Jamboree, what's happening? You can call in. But if somebody's going to call in, because we don't want everybody to try to call at the same time. Call while the line is free. You know? And salute to my brother Learn out there with that super chat. He says, appreciate the knowledge. Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you guys. Really do. This coming Saturday, we got this big light heavyweight fight taking place. Joshua Buatsi is taking on Dan Aziz, man. Another big light heavyweight fight. These two men will be fighting for the right for someone to get a title shot after the undisputed crown has been announced between Bivol and Bitterbeef. So one of these two men will end up with a title shot before the end of the year. I have to say that going in, it looks like that Joshua Buatsi may be the favorite, but Dan Aziz, who has a mentality and mindset of a throwback fighter, his favorite fighter is Marvin Hagler. He tries to pattern himself after Hagler, not fighting like him, but the way that Hagler went about his work as a professional. Dan is trying to do that. These two are also very familiar with one another, fighting out of the UK through their amateur careers and professional. They sparred a lot of time in the gym together. They spent time in the gym together, so they're very familiar with one another. This can turn into a heated rivalry type situation. They've both shown respect for one another throughout this promotion. The fight was originally announced a year ago, but due to some red tape and injuries and stuff, there were postponements and rescheduling, and so now they're finally, this coming February 3rd, they're going to get it on. I'm excited to see it. I'm just looking forward to this. I like when the top guys are fighting each other. These are two top contenders in the light heavyweight division facing one another, and hey, we can't ask for better. You know what I mean? One of these guys are thought to be a future champion. But as long as Bitterbeef is up there, I don't know about that. But it still bears watching to see these two men come together and do what they're capable of doing. Salute to Tay-Tay out there. I see you, Tay-Tay. She says, hey, Master Sifu, and salute to the chat. Yeah, what's going on with you? Where's my brother, Flawless Mentality and Black Excellence, Dr. Mark? Where you at, man? Call in, huh? Stop letting Stormy, stay on the airwaves by herself, man. You know I need company up here, huh? Put that coffee down and call in, and let's chop shop, huh? Yeah. That's what's up. Shoot, we got another one. Salute to my man Trill Will out there with that super chat. He says, salute, Stormy. Salute to you, bro. How you doing, man? Trill Will, you could call in. The call-in number is right there on the screen. Call in and talk to Stormy, man, about some boxing. Uh-oh, I ask, and it shall be delivered. Okay, we got 214 in the house. Who's calling? What's on your mind?
Peace. 704 Joe from Dallas, home of welterweight champion Earl Spence. Peace.
What's going on with you, 704? How you doing this morning, bro?
Doing all right. You sitting down 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, listening to little you. Then I go to the minister. Then I come back to you. Then I go to the minister.
Nothing wrong with that. You got an organized day. Yeah.
Everything's cool, man. I wanted to go back a couple of weeks ago, man. You brought up something. The old shoesmith, man. It took me back to the 70s and the 80s, man. Shoesmiths, they hard to find, man.
I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're hard to find. Remember when you used to put the taps on the back of the heel and you could hear somebody coming from the block?
Yeah,
you
bro.
that?
The taps on the heel and the ones on the toe. You remember they used to replace the whole sole of your shoe. Remember?
Yeah.
And sometimes they would dye your shoe. If you wanted your shoe dyed a different color, if it was a leather shoe, of course, or even like for the women, they have a purse or a handbag. They used to do that. You know?
Yeah, people don't. Yeah, you don't understand those. Some of those old shoes are like old pair of jeans, man. You just don't want to get them up. They curve to your body and to your feet, man. You know.
Well, not only that, 704. Check this out, and I kind of mentioned that when I was talking about it. Shoes used to be made a lot better, bro. They were made out of better material and everything. So when you had a shoesmith that could replace the heels and soles of your shoes, because the grade of the shoe was made better, they didn't wear out like they wear out now. You know, you could buy a shoe now and in 2 or 3 months, and it's time to replace it.
Yeah, they don't make nothing like they used to.
They don't.
And that's on purpose.
Exactly. It's to get you to spend more money. Think about it like this, bro. When you were experiencing what we're talking about, a lot of things were American made, American built, American taken care of. It's like this is how the country promoted itself. And guess what? We used to sell these goods to other parts of the world.
Yep.
And the world benefited from that. It was one of the reasons why this country was ahead, because people looked to us. When we got corrupt politicians in there and they decided that they were going to go the way of industry and big money and commerce for themselves, and they outsourced all of this, this is what took away the infrastructure of America. You used to have American-made everything, right? But it's like now everything is like you open and you look at a label, stuff coming from China all the time.
Right.
They flipped the script, bro. But at the hands of our corrupt politicians. They sold us out, man.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, everything had pride on it. You could see the stamp, made in the USA, made in the USA. That was something, 30, 40 years ago. Made in the USA. And then, like you say, they started sending the jobs. You're making American cars in Japan. That's crazy.
And listen, when you go to Cuba, what kind of cars are they driving in Cuba?
Older cars.
But what kind?
American cars.
Yep. Older American cars. And they still running. It's 2024. And them cars are still running, ain't they? Huh?
They from the 60s. Yeah, it's from the 60s.
Yeah.
And they're still running.
But think about it. Now, over here, who cars are we driving? The Japanese. Huh? It's like, it don't make sense, bro.
Yep.
Even if it has an American name on it, it ain't made in America, bro.
That's right. That's right. Right. We started exporting instead of, we started exporting. Yeah, we started exporting, that's it. Instead of sending things out, we became the consumer instead of the producer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But another thing, one more thing, and then I'm going to get to boxing. This AI thing, man. I'm old-fashioned. I'm old, man. This AI thing is getting out of control, man. It's like, it's so good now. They copying your style, Drew style, and other people in LDBC. They can make thumbnails that look like y'all thumbnails,
Mm-hmm.
And then when you click on it, there it is, that voice. You know what it is. You know what it is. You know what it is. You know what it is, man. I'm so tired of these fake channels, man. So many AI channels out there, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, only thing I can say about that, man, is you have to go directly to the source to get the fulfillment. That's all. That's why you shouldn't listen to so much. Only pick a few things and make sure it's consistent within what you about yourself, and you go from there. But see, you got these people, man, they go here, they go there, they go everywhere. But think about it. Isn't that the same way as having reckless sex out there? You screwing around with this one and that one and whatever, and I gotta go see the doctor now. Huh? Where you think that come from? Huh? Sticking your nose where it don't belong, huh? And there you go. And he's like, take this shot and take these pills and come back and see me in 30 days. Huh? You come over here to Stormy B, man, you're going to get a certain type of content very consistently. And guess what? Stormy ain't talking about other people either, is he? He talking about this sport, or he talking about life and how the marriage of this sport that we say we love come together. That's what I talk about.
Yep. Well, I hate to bring it up, but we got dudes our age, 60 years old, talking about stuff happening 10 years ago, man. That really didn't happen. Our age. That's crazy.
Well, you know what I say to that? It's just consistent with the word that has always gone through our existence. God takes care of babies and fools, huh? And babies are young, impressionable, need to learn from the environments that they are brought into. Fools can go for ages, huh? Yeah, there's no limit on that, huh? A new fool or an old fool. What's the difference? There is none.
Another question. Go back to boxing. I always hear people talking about the women boxing in 2-minute rounds. Do you think it should be extended to 3-minute rounds, or is 2 minutes okay?
I think that the championship fights should be 3-minute rounds. The championship fights should be 3-minute rounds, or it could be this, or the championship fights have to be 12 rounds. They could stay 2 minutes, but if it's a championship fight, it should be 12 rounds. One or the other.
Okay. And one last question. Your favorite trilogy? I think I already know. Pretty much I already know, but your favorite trilogy?
I would have to think about that, because I don't think.
Well, one of them.
I don't think of trilogies in a box anymore, because my mind has really expanded with boxing. But Michael Carbajal and Humberto Gonzalez is a hell of a trilogy. The Barrera and Morales fights, that's a hell of a trilogy.
That's my favorite one.
Holyfield and Bo is a great trilogy. What's his name? Ali Frazier is a great trilogy. Leonard Duran is an interesting trilogy. I won't say it's a great trilogy. It's interesting because all three fights played out different ways. Do you know when they fought the third time in Vegas and it was cold outdoors and everything? Duran busted Leonard up really bad in that fight. He had cuts around his eyes. His mouth was busted. I don't know what was going on with Ray Leonard in that fight, but his face was like tissue paper in that fight. Duran busted. Huh?
I don't remember the third fight. I remember the first two. I don't remember the third.
They fought at the Mirage. Holyfield and Buster Douglas opened the Mirage. And then that next year, Leonard fought Duran a third time, or at the end of that year.
Who won the third one?
Leonard.
Okay, I remember the first two. I definitely remember the first two. I do not remember the third. I don't. I'm lost.
Yep. Duran came out. He tried to fight. He really did. But Leonard got busted up in that fight. It was like really crazy. It was kind of like a boring fight because Leonard wouldn't stand there. He didn't run around like he did when he was a younger guy, but he kept moving on Duran. But when Duran would land, he would cut him or something. It was really a weird thing. It was so weird.
Man, I'm lost on that fight.
Yeah, pull that up, man. Leonard Duran 3.
So do you consider that that second Hearns and Sugar Ray, that second fight when they was like 87, 88, did you consider that a real fight? The second fight.
Oh yeah, man. Tommy Hearns exercised his demons with Ray Leonard in that fight. He dropped Leonard twice, and he pummeled Leonard a few rounds in that fight. He should have got the decision, but they called it a draw, unfortunately. But Hearns would always give Leonard trouble because of his height and his reach, and Leonard would say that. But Hearns didn't give Leonard trouble only because of his height and reach. Hearns gave Leonard trouble because he was the better boxer of the two. Always was. Of his era and generation, Tommy Hearns was the best boxer.
Okay.
Leonard was a fast, athletic boxer who had gifts, that placed him in a certain stratosphere. But if you go back to their first fight, Tommy Hearns was giving him a boxing lesson until Angelo Dundee gave Leonard that pep talk and reminded him, you got to go out there and get this sucker because you're losing, And it kind of changed things. But Tommy was a hell of a boxer, man.
Hearns, okay, that first fight, Hearns didn't need that last round, or did he need it?
I don't know remember what the scorecards were, but I know that Angelo Dundee told Leonard, you're losing and you got to go out there and do something. Because Hearns was outboxing him, man. He was outboxing him.
I'm thinking, and I don't like to take it back to the Rocky movie. Remember Clover Lane, they tell him, just box, man. Stop trying to beat him up. Just box. Remember the trader told him, just box, man. Stop trying to beat him up. That's how I felt that first fight. If he just would have boxed the last round, still trying to knock him out in box and beat him up, he would have won. That's my opinion.
But he didn't try to knock him out and beat him up. Leonard jumped on him, bro.
Well, you have to defend yourself. No, I take that back. I think he was trying to fight. Now I need to go back.
He was boxing. He was boxing, but Leonard turned it up on him, bro.
Okay.
That's all that was. It's like it happens. But remember, I said that Leonard, I said this earlier in this call-in when I was talking to Learn. Leonard was the type of fighter, Kurt Sugar pointed this out. He would adjust to you, right? But you needed to adjust a second time to him. And a lot of guys never did that. They didn't adjust to Leonard's adjustment.
Well, he should have held that last round. Something. Shit. He should have did something different, man. But it's history.
He gave us a great fight, man. He gave us a great fight. It ended like it ended, I mean, it's just like, when Ali and Frazier fought in Manila, Ali went back to his corner at the end of the 14th round, and he told his cornerman to take the gloves off. I ain't going back out there. That man is crazy.
Yeah.
And Joe Frazier's corner was telling Joe, Joe, we can't send you back out there. Your eye is shut, and then you can't see out your other eye. And Joe was like, no, I want to go. And Eddie Futch told him, no, you're done, son. We're going to wave it off. And Ali was ready to quit in his corner, and Joe wanted to continue, but his cornerman stopped it in his corner. So it's like it would have been interesting to see that play out because Ali was quitting. He was actually quitting.
Yep. It was the closest thing to death. Yep. All right, Storm, I'm going to let you get some more callers, man.
Okay, bro. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Love the show, man.
All right. Take care. Peace.
All right.
All right. That's the brother 704 Joe in the building. Yeah. it's an interesting thing, man, how this stuff plays out. Interesting. While we taking this little time out, this little break, we're gonna listen to my man, Focus Ball.
Get ready to take your striking game to the next level with the Focus Ball. Dramatically improved footwork, timing, head movement, hand-eye coordination, reflex, and overall fight IQ. It's lightweight and extremely portable, so you can train every time, everywhere. When you don't have a coach to do mitt work, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a heavy bag to hit, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a sparring partner, get yourself a Focus Ball. And when you just want to have fun punching and kicking, get a Focus Ball. When you train with the Focus Ball, you train your eyes and your brain to read punches so that you can hit and not get hit, making this very simple device a must-have for all combat sports athletes and enthusiasts alike. So if you want to take your striking game to the next level, don't wait. Get the Focus Ball now.
Some of that Stormybman merchandise, man. Stop messing around so you can look good. You know what I'm saying? Proper attire, proper headgear, man. You know, that's what's up. What a day, man. We had a great show today. I want to say I appreciate everybody that came out today, the love and support, the super chats that came through, man. That's what it's all about, man. Showing the love and support here, talking up this great sport of boxing that we enjoy, you know. That's what it's all about. We're going to get ready to head on up out of here. I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we'll catch you guys, next Sunday for another call in, man. That's what's up. Peace.
you